أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته المنتجبين. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يسألونك عن الأهلة قل هي مواقيت للناس والحج. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Why do we have a problem with moon sighting every single year? At the start of the holy month of Ramadan and at the end of the holy month of Ramadan when we declare Eid. Why is it that in some places we see people celebrating Eid for 3 days? Why does in one family we see some people starting on one day and other members of the family starting on another day? Why is it that on the day of Eid, one family can be divided into 2 days, or maybe even sometimes 3 days? Why can't we all celebrate Eid on one day throughout the Islamic nation, throughout the world? Why can't our maraji' unite and decide on one day to start Ramadan and one day to celebrate Eid? These are very common questions that we hear every year, that many people ask every year. And you have every right to ask this question. There's not a single question that you cannot ask or you have no right to ask. When it comes to faith and religion, you can ask your maraji' any question, and it should not be offensive to anyone. There's no such thing as a stupid question or an offensive question. Tonight, my dear brothers and sisters, we will make an attempt to answer this question. Why is it that we are divided every year on the start of Ramadan and on the start of Eid, on the day of Eid? This year, alhamdulillah, we did not have a problem on the start of Ramadan. And we hope the same thing will happen on the day of Eid. We'll all be united. But this year, it's not like every other year. Every other year, people are divided on the start of Ramadan and on the day of Eid. Why? Why is it that our maraji' disagree on this issue? Why is it that we cannot unite? Why is it that we cannot agree to start Ramadan on one day and celebrate Eid on another day? Tonight, my dear brothers and sisters, we will give the various opinions on moon sighting with the various justifications and reasonings, just so that we develop a minor understanding, because we can't cover the topic completely, but a minor understanding of why our maraji' disagree. Now, as a disclaimer, as a general disclaimer to all of my lectures, this is not an attempt to change anyone's taqleed from one marji' to another marji'. Please continue to follow your own marji', the scholar you deem most knowledgeable and who's most appropriate for you. This lecture is only meant to give us a general understanding of why our maraji' disagree over the moon sighting issue. Wa sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. First of all, there's no division between our maraji'. There's no disunity. Some people pose this question as if there's fighting between our maraji', as if there's disunity among our maraji'. Why is it that our maraji' cannot unite and can't agree on moon sighting? Just because they disagree doesn't mean they're divided. We have to differentiate between two things: disagreement and disunity. Our maraji' can disagree, and that is allowed. That is the purpose of ijtihad. The purpose of ijtihad. Why do our scholars study in Hawza? Just so that they all reach the same conclusions and to agree on everything? No. The reasoning behind ijtihad is that various jurists can reach different conclusions. One jurist will say, fast according to this theory. Another jurist will reach another conclusion. So this is very normal. Just because they disagree, it doesn't mean they're divided. It's like doctors. If there's a patient in a hospital, one doctor says this patient requires a surgery. Another doctor says this patient does not require surgery. These doctors disagreed. Does that mean they're divided? Does that mean there's disunity amongst doctors and lawyers and engineers? No. There's unity, but there's disagreement. They agree to disagree. Right? So it's not just the maraji' that disagree between each other. All specialists, all professionals, they are entitled to disagree, to reach their own conclusions, and to disagree with others. This is allowed in all fields. Why is it that when it comes to the field of religion, when it comes to the field of fiqh, we expect our maraji' to all have the same opinions? Or, let's put moon sighting aside, those who go to Hajj, I'm sure those who've gone to Hajj, you've realized the amount of differences there are between maraji'. One marji' says that at night you cannot ride a bus, another marji' says you can, for example. Some say, why can't they all agree? This is not a joke. How do you expect them to all agree? It depends on their reading of the Quran, it depends on their reading of the Sharia, their reading of the Sunnah, and then they'll reach a conclusion. They could agree, and they might not agree. And that is very normal. So just because they disagree, it does not mean they are divided and disunited. This is number one. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I will make an attempt to explain why the maraji' are split on the case of moon sighting and what are the various opinions and why. Why did they choose these different opinions? First off, there's a debate regarding sighting the moon. Is it an end or a means to the end? The maraji' are split. The scholars are split. Some say that sighting the moon is an end in itself. You have to sight the moon. You have no other option. There's no other way. Islam has not provided you any other way to begin the new lunar month. You have to sight the moon. It's an end and not a means. Well, why do they say this? Because there's a hadith that says, "Sum lil-ru'ya waftur lil-ru'ya." Begin fasting due to moon sighting and break your fast, meaning eat, due to moon sighting. The hadith says moon sighting. It didn't say anything else. It didn't give us any other options. So we have to stick to the book. The book said moon sighting, we have to stick to moon sighting. This is one opinion. Another opinion says that, think about it logically, moon sighting is not a means, it's not an end, it's a means to the end. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he said, "Sum lil-ru'ya waftur lil-ru'ya," begin fasting to moon sighting, stop fasting with moon sighting. Why did he say moon sighting? Because there was no other way at that time to discover the new moon except through, to begin the new moon except through moon sighting. How else would you know that it's the new month? By sighting the moon. It's by sighting the moon you discover that today it's Ramadan, then it's Shawwal, then it's Dhul Qa'dah, then it's Dhul Hijjah, and so on and so forth. But today, when there are scientific calculations, when we can discover the new month, when has the new month entered, we can discover it through scientific calculations. You could go to moonsighting.com and they will tell you exactly when the new moon is born. Do you still need to sight the moon? No. You don't need to sight the moon any longer because scientific calculations, they tell you when the new moon is born. They tell you when the new month has entered. So jurists are split over this issue. Is sighting the moon an end or a means to the end? And this is why. So this is one argument between jurists regarding sighting the moon. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And by the way, there are some jurists today, they depend on scientific calculations. And they believe that sighting the moon is a means. It's not an end. It's a means to the end. And one of them is Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani. Sayyid Sistani depends on scientific calculations. If moonsighting.com, for example, says that this moon will be born and can be seen in this city, for example, or in this horizon, Sayyid Sistani accepts it. He relies on scientific calculations, and there are other jurists that also rely on scientific calculations. However, Sayyid Sistani requires that the new moon be visible in your horizon. In your horizon. That's the difference between him and some of the other maraja. Otherwise, he relies on scientific calculations. Sighting the moon is a means, and it's not an end, while for other jurists, it's an end. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. This takes us to the other argument, to the second argument. And that argument is traditionally known as وحدة الأفق واختلاف الأفق. Unity of horizons and the variety of horizons. What does this mean? The question is, if you sight the moon in your city, here in Orlando, is it enough for people in New York or Los Angeles or London or Paris to fast with you or break the fast with you, or it's not enough? They have to sight the moon in their own city, in their own horizon. Here, maraja are split. There are some, like Ayatollah Sayyid al-Khoi. And I will explain. There are three main opinions. The first opinion, the opinion of Ayatollah al-Khoi, the deceased, al-Marhum Sayyid al-Khoi. Sayyid al-Khoi believes that if you sight the moon anywhere in the world, it is sufficient for all the other cities in the world under one condition, that you share a bit of the night together. Even if it's 15 minutes or 30 minutes of night together, you have night together, even if it's for 15 or 30 minutes. If they sight the moon, for example, in Karbala and you're in Orlando, that's fine. Or vice versa. They sight the moon in Orlando, it's sufficient for the people of Karbala, according to Sayyid al-Khoi. Now, what's his justification? Sayyid al-Khoi has two justifications, or three justifications. One is scientific. Sayyid al-Khoi says, do not compare the moon to the sun. When it comes to the sun, every city has its sunset and it has its sunrise. That is why here in Orlando, you pray Maghrib according to your sunset or to the sunset of Los Angeles. You stop praying Fajr according to your sunrise or to the sunrise of, for example, Oklahoma City. No, you follow your own sunrise and your own sunset. Every city has its own sunset and own sunrise. That's why we follow our timings and we don't follow the timings of any other city. And the Quran alludes to this. لا أقسم فلا أقسم برب المشارق والمغارب. I do not swear to the Lord of the sunsets and sunrises. Why is it plural and not singular? Because in every city there's a sunset and a sunrise. Hence, mashariq wa magharib, sunsets and sunrises. But the new moon, there's only one new moon for the entire world. Let me explain. When we sight the new moon, where did the moon go? It's not that the moon disappeared. The moon is there, but we cannot see it. Why? Because this is the sun, and this is the moon, and this is the earth. The earth is not allowing sunlight to reach the moon, correct? Because the earth is blocking the moon from reaching, from sunlight to reach the moon. But as soon as the moon starts to rotate and leaves this area which is called al-muhaq. Al-muhaq is a scientific name in Arabic for when the earth is blocking sunlight to the moon. When the moon leaves, when the moon moves and the sunlight reaches the moon, that's the new moon. You could see it. Now it doesn't matter whether you're in Los Angeles or you're in Karachi or you're in Africa or you're in Asia, wherever it is, when the moon leaves and the sunlight reaches the moon, it's not going to make a difference to the rest of the cities. So the moon is not going to go back and then come out again for Los Angeles, and then go back and come out for Hawaii, and then go back and come out for Japan, and so on and so forth. When it comes out for everyone, and it keeps on growing bigger and bigger and bigger. Sayyid al-Khoi says, do not compare the moon to the sun. Because for every city, there's a sunset and a sunrise. But when the moon comes out, there's only one moon. One new moon for the entire world. So wherever you see that moon, wherever you are, it proves the new month for the entire world. You see? This is the justification of a Sayyid al-Khoi. This is a scientific justification of a Sayyid al-Khoi. He also comes back to the ahadith. There are several authentic ahadith. A man comes to Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. He tells him that on the 29th of Sha'ban, it was cloudy. We couldn't sight the moon. So we started fasting. No, I'm sorry. So we considered the next day the final day of Sha'ban. And then the day after that, we began fasting. After Ramadan, someone from another city came and said that they saw the moon on the 29th of Sha'ban. For example, on Tuesday. The 29th of Sha'ban was Tuesday. Those people could not sight the moon. So on Wednesday, they considered it the final day of Sha'ban, and they considered the first day of Ramadan the day of Thursday. After Ramadan, people from a different city, they came and testified. They said, on Tuesday, we sighted the moon. Imam al-Sadiq says, make up that day. Make up that day. Make up Wednesday. Because Wednesday is Ramadan. Imam al-Sadiq says, see? The Imam didn't say from which city. It could have been a close city. It could have been a far city. People from a different city, generally speaking, they came and testified. They said, we saw the moon. The Imam said, do your fasting over. So this is his second proof. The third proof, he says, on the day of Eid, we recite, أسألك بحق هذا اليوم الذي جعلته للمسلمين عيدا. I ask you by the sake of this day that you've made it a day of Eid for all the Muslims. So it's one day. It can't be 3 days. It can't be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It could be only one day. Also, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا. It says, how many times do angels go up and down? 3 times? For 3 days, the angels are going to go up, come down, go up, come down, go up, come down. Does it make sense? The angels come down on one night, and that night is Laylatul Qadr. So that means Laylatul Qadr is only one night for all Muslims. This is the first opinion, the opinion of Al-Marhum As-Sayyid Al-Khoi. The second opinion, the opinion of As-Sayyid Al-Sistani. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Sayyid Al-Sistani says that you have to sight the moon in your horizon. What does horizon mean? Ufuq. Ufuq is sunsets and sunrises. Any city where you share the same sunset and the same sunrise, even if you're off by 5-10 minutes, that's okay. That means you have the same horizon. You have to sight the moon in your own horizon. So, for example, in your city, and a radius of, let's say, 100 kilometers, no more. Something like that. So if you sight the moon in Orlando, it is not enough for people in Los Angeles. If people in Los Angeles sight the moon, it is not enough for people in Orlando. Why? The Sayyid says, well, first of all, this was the popular opinion. from the time of a Shaykh al-Tusi up until 100 years ago. This was the popular opinion. Look in fiqh books. Jurists would tell you to sight the moon in your city. Sighting the moon in another city is not enough. It's not sufficient. So number one, it's the popular opinion. Two, yes, we have ahadith that say if people from a different city sighted the moon and you couldn't sight the moon on the eve of Ramadan, you have to repeat. You have to repeat that day that you considered Sha'ban and you didn't fast, now you have to repeat it. He says, but we have to read the context of this hadith. When the Imam says people from a different city, which city was he talking about? They're living in Medina. Is he talking about people from Los Angeles or London or Paris? No, because these cities were not discovered at the time. So most likely he was talking about a nearby city. Mecca, Kufa, Basra. These cities, if someone from this city, a city close by to you, comes and says, I sighted the moon, and you didn't, and you broke your fast that day, you would have to come and repeat. You see where the Sayyid is coming from? This is the justification of a Sayyid al-Sistani. The third opinion, Ayatollah al-Sayyid Muhammad Sa'id al-Hakim. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Sayyid Muhammad Sa'id, he has a bit of a different opinion. He's somewhere in the middle. He did not take the route of a Sayyid al-Khoi, nor did he take the position of a Sayyid al-Sistani. He took somewhere in the middle. He introduced something known as the New World and the Old World. Sayyid al-Hakim was a contemporary jurist who was living now in Najaf. I had the honor of studying with him for a couple of weeks in Najaf. Sayyid al-Hakim says that if you sight the moon in the east, it is automatically proven in the west. So if you sight the moon in Karbala, Najaf, Mecca, Medina, it's enough for people in the west. But not vice versa. If you sight the moon in the west, it is not enough for the people of the east. This is number one. Number two, Sayyid al-Hakim introduced the concept of the old world and the new world. What does he mean by the old world? Asia, Europe, and Africa. What does he mean by the new world? North America and South America. He says that if the moon is sighted anywhere in the old world, anywhere in Asia, Africa, Europe, anywhere in this area, if the moon is sighted, it is enough to prove the new month for all of the rest of the old world and the new world. But if the moon is sighted in the new world, it is not enough for whom? For the old world. So let me give a couple of examples. If the moon is sighted in Karbala, it's enough for London. If it's sighted in London, it's enough for Karbala. Right? Because this is Europe, Asia, Africa. But if it's sighted in the west, west as in North America, South America, old world, it is not enough for the new world, which is North America, South America, it is not enough, it is not sufficient for the old world, which is the Middle East. Now, why did Sayyid al-Hakim come up with this conclusion? I have not seen his justification. However, I can assume the following, that the old world existed during the days of Ahlul-bayt. Roughly speaking, the old world was already discovered. Asia, Africa, and some parts of Europe, some parts, were already discovered, and Muslims had already traveled to those areas during the days of Ahlul-bayt. The Ahlul-bayt did not tell anyone that you cannot rely on the moon sighting of that area in those cities. There's not a single hadith by Imam al-Sadiq, by Imam al-Baqir that says you cannot rely on the moon sighting of another city. No. On the contrary, there's a hadith that says you can rely on the moon sighting of another city. But which city? Sayyid al-Hakim says the old world. Why? Because the old world existed at the days of the Ahlul-bayt. And Muslims had already traveled to those areas. So when the Imam says you can rely on the moon sighting of another city, most likely he means any city in the Old World, but not the New World, because the New World was not discovered at the time. So the Imam was obviously not talking about the New World. This is the opinion of Sayyid al-Hakim. These are the three most prominent opinions. Of course, Sayyid al-Khoi, he will have a lot of people that agree with him, like Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim, not to be confused with Sayyid Muhammad Sa'id al-Hakim, who was his grandson. Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim had the same opinion as Sayyid al-Khoi. And there are other maraja'. Sayyid al-Sistani, there are other maraja' that would agree with him. For example, Ayatollah Shirazi, Ayatollah Mudarrisi, they agree with him. And Sayyid Muhammad Sa'id, I'm sure there's at least one or two scholars that also agree with him. Wa sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Another issue regarding moon sighting, and here there's also a difference, there's also a disagreement, and that is regarding binoculars. Can we rely on binoculars or not? Of course, who would need this question? Who would need this debate? Those who do not rely on scientific calculations. If you rely on scientific calculations, if moonsighting.com tells you that the new moon has been born and can be seen, for some maraja' that's enough. For those that is not enough for them, they have to sight the moon. They have to sight the moon. Now, by sighting the moon, does it have to be with the naked eye, or can it be with binoculars? Some say it has to be with the naked eye, because binoculars did not exist at the time of Ahlul-bayt. And so when Rasulullah said, "Sum lirru'ya," fast due to moon sighting. Which sighting? With the naked eye, because there was no other means of sighting. It has to be with the naked eye. Other maraja' say you can rely on binoculars, because is it sighting or is it not sighting? It's sighting. Is it seeing or is it not seeing? It's seeing. There's nowhere in the scripture, in the Quran or in the hadith that says you have to sight the moon with your naked eye. No. You can rely on binoculars. Proof of that is that if there is a non-mahram female without her hijab, can you look at her with your binoculars without her knowledge? No, you can't. Isn't this sighting? They say you cannot look at her with your binoculars. So how come when it comes to looking at something haram with the binoculars, you say no, but when it comes to sighting the moon, you say you can't. You can't. If it's sighting here, it should be sighting there. Correct? So these are different opinions also regarding the usage of binoculars and sighting the moon with the naked eye. Wa sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. In conclusion, as difficult as it may, as hard it is for families to be divided regarding the start of Ramadan and the start of Eid and the day of Eid, there are ways of uniting. One way of uniting is for the families to follow one marja'. When members of the family follow various maraja', obviously there's going to be a disagreement in the house, and they will start on different days. In one family, some will start on one day, another members will start on another day. But if the entire family follows one marja', the a'lam, the most knowledgeable marja', of course, that's another issue, is how you calculate who the a'lam is, that's another story. But if the same family, if one family follows the same marja', they'll be starting the same day and ending another day. This is one way of uniting. Another way of uniting is by traveling. For example, your marja' says Eid will be on Tuesday, but your other family members, their marja' says it's on Monday, and you want to celebrate with your family on Monday, go and travel. And it's not that much. All you have to travel is 44 kilometers. So you travel 22 kilometers outside, and you come back, and you celebrate with your family. If it's a big deal for you, you could do it. You could do it. Our goal is for the maraja' to unite on the first of Ramadan and on the day of Eid. But this is an academic disagreement. It's hard for us to expect from them to all agree on one issue, on the same ruling, on the same fatwa. It's impossible, because this is an academic discussion. Some will agree, and others will disagree. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to unite us all. not just on the start of Ramadan and on the day of Eid, but all the time, to unite the word of the Muslims and the followers of Ahlul-bayt. اللهم إني أسألك أن تجعل فيما تقضي وتقدر من الأمر المحتوم في الأمر الحكيم من القضاء الذي لا يرد ولا يبدل، أن تكتبنا من حجاج بيتك الحرام المبرور حجهم، المشكور سعيهم، المغفور ذنوبهم، المكفر عنهم سيئاتهم، وأن تجعل فيما تقضي وتقدر أن تطيل عمري في خير وعافية وتوسع في رزقي، وتجعلني ممن تنتصر به لدينك ولا تستبدل بي غيري. أعوذ بجلال وجهك الكريم أن ينقضي عني شهر رمضان أو يطلع الفجر من ليلتي هذه ولك قبلي تبعة أو ذنب تعذبني عليه. ولأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات. الفاتحة مع الصلوات.